Have you ever noticed that some men seem to fight this battle for decades, while other men eventually reach a point where freedom seems almost easy? It's not because temptation disappears. It's not because something stronger, but because something fundamentally changed inside of them. And I spent the last 6 years thinking about this. I've coached over 1,800 men through pornography addiction. I lived through it for nearly 30 years myself. And I've come to this conclusion: the men who stay stuck and the men who become free aren't asking the same question. There's the man that's stuck. He asks, how do I stop watching porn? And then the man who becomes free eventually starts asking, who do I need to become so that porn no longer has a place in my life? Now, those questions may sound very similar, but they're completely different. One of them is focused on behavior. The other is focused on identity. Today, I want to show you exactly why I believe identity is the missing piece in almost every recovery program I've ever seen. Because if all you're trying to do is stop watching porn, you're fighting a battle you'll eventually get tired of fighting. But you become a different man, everything changes. For years, I thought the answer was trying harder. I thought that I wanted freedom badly enough, I'd eventually get there. So I tried everything. I promised myself this is the last time. I downloaded accountability apps. I installed filters. I deleted social media. I pleaded and made deals with God. I'd go a few days, sometimes a few weeks, but then I'd relapse. And every relapse reinforced the same story I've been telling myself for years. Maybe this is just who I am. Maybe I'm always going to struggle. Maybe I'm just broken. Maybe I'll never change. But looking back, I wasn't just addicted to porn. I was addicted to an identity. I believed I was a man who watched porn, and I believed that every relapse felt like proof that that story was true. I wasn't just losing a battle. I was confirming an identity. And I think that's exactly where so many men get stuck today. They aren't just trying to quit porn. They're trying to convince themselves that they're someone that they're not. Here's what I mean. Imagine being a man who believed his entire life, I'm terrible with money. Now imagine that man starts saving. He budgets, he invests, he becomes financially disciplined. At first, it's going to feel uncomfortable, not because saving money is difficult, but because the behavior doesn't match the story he's believed about himself for years. Think about someone who says, I'm just going to be a gym person. Maybe they work out for 2 weeks, maybe even a month, but eventually they stop. Why? Because every workout feels like they're pretending to be someone else. Eventually, their identity pulls them back to what's familiar. Now let's bring that back to porn. If deep down you still believe I'm a porn addict, I'm weak, I'm the guy who always relapses, I'm never going to beat this, then every decision you make has to fight against the story your mind already believes. And eventually, identity will win every single time. One of the biggest lies in recovery is that behavior creates identity. I actually believe it's the opposite. Identity creates your behaviors. Think about it. A healthy man doesn't have to wake up every morning, convince himself to brush his teeth. A loving husband doesn't spend every day reminding himself not to cheat on his wife. A generous person doesn't wrestle with giving every single time an opportunity comes along. Why? Because those actions flow naturally from who they believe they are. Their behavior is an expression of their identity. Porn works exactly the same way. The question isn't, how do I become someone who resists porn? The better question is, how do I become the kind of man for whom porn no longer fits? Because there's a huge difference. One requires constant resistance. The other creates lasting transformation. Now, this actually brings us to what I call the first law of identity change. Your behavior always follows your identity. Now, that doesn't mean you'll never make mistakes. It doesn't mean Christians can never sin. It doesn't mean temptation disappears. But over time, your life moves in the direction of the person you believe yourself to be. If I ask you to describe yourself today, what would you say? Would you say I'm disciplined, I'm faithful, I'm dependable? Or would you say I'm anxious, I'm lazy, I'm addicted, maybe I'm broken? Because those words you use to describe yourself matter more than you think. Your identity becomes the lens through which you interpret every success and every failure through. When you believe you're broken, every relapse becomes evidence. When you believe you're rebuilding, every victory becomes evidence. It's a completely different mindset. Now, here's where the science gets really interesting. Your brain actually wants your behavior to stay consistent with your identity. Psychologists have studied this for decades. Human beings naturally seek consistency between what they believe and how they act. It's one of the reasons change feels so difficult, not because change itself is impossible, but because your brain constantly asks, does this fit the person I believe that I am? If that answer is no, it creates tension. And most people relieve that tension by going back to familiar behaviors, not because they enjoy them, but because they're familiar. Your brain would rather be familiar than be uncomfortable, even if the familiar is destroying your life. Think about that for a second. Sometimes men don't relapse because porn is irresistible. They relapse because their old identity still feels more believable than their new one. That's why saying I'm never going to do this usually doesn't work, because the statement isn't supported by the identity underneath it. That brings us to the second law. Your brain protects the story you believe about yourself. If you've believed for years, I'm the guy who always fails, guess what your brain starts looking for? Evidence. Every relapse, every bad day, every mistake, it ignores the progress and magnifies those failures. Not because your brain hates you, but because it's trying to stay consistent. This is why two men can experience the same exact setback and respond completely differently. One says, I knew I'd fail. The other says, this wasn't who I want to be. What can I learn from this? Same event, different identity, different future. And I think that's exactly why so many recovery programs unintentionally keep men stuck, because they spend all their time talking about stopping a behavior instead of becoming a different man. They teach management, but they never teach real transformation. And if the identity never changes, the behavior almost always comes back. This brings us to the third law of identity change. Identity isn't declared, it's accumulated. I think this is where a lot of men get frustrated. They hear a message like this and think, okay, so I just start telling myself I'm a different man. No, that's not what I'm saying here. You don't need to become a disciplined man because you say that you're disciplined. You become disciplined man by repeatedly doing disciplined things. You don't become trustworthy because you say you are. You become trustworthy by keeping your promises, especially the promises you make to yourself. This is one of my favorite ideas from James Clear's book, Atomic Habits. He says, every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. I love that, because every decision, every workout, every prayer, every journal entry, every difficult conversation, every time you close a laptop instead of opening another tab, you're casting another vote, not for a streak, not for protection or perfection, but for your identity. Eventually, those votes begin to outweigh the old story, and that's when something incredible starts happening. You stop feeling like you're pretending and you start believing this is actually who I am. This is exactly what happened in my own life. When I first started changing, I didn't feel like a disciplined man. I didn't feel like a leader. I didn't feel like someone who had his life together. But every morning I got up, I would pray, I'd spend time with God, I'd journal, I would show up, I would honor my commitments. Not because I always felt like it, but because every one of those actions was another brick in the foundation of a new identity. One day I realized I wasn't forcing these things anymore. They had become a part of who I was. That's real transformation. Now, this brings us to the fourth law. Your environment reinforces your identity. This is one of the biggest reasons men struggle to change alone. Think about it. Every man around you normalizes porn, jokes about it, minimizes it, secretly struggles with it. What identity there gets reinforced? This is just what men do. Now imagine something completely different. Imagine surrounding yourself with men who expect integrity, who talk openly, who challenge one another, who refuse to settle, who are becoming better husbands, better fathers, better leaders, better followers of Christ. Now imagine your environment starts reinforcing a different identity. That's why community matters. Not because someone is going to police your behavior, but because you're constantly being reminded of who you're becoming. I've seen this over and over again inside of our brotherhood. A man joins because he wants to quit porn. A few months later, he's talking about becoming a better husband, a better father, getting in shape, leading at work, growing spiritually. His entire life begins to change. Why? Because his identity has changed. Porn was never the destination. It was just one symptom of a much bigger issue. A few weeks ago, I had a conversation with hypnotherapist Nelson Whiting on the Superhuman Life podcast. During our conversation, he said something that immediately caught my attention. He said, overcoming a porn addiction and staying free is easy if the person's identity has shifted enough. When he said that, I smiled, because that's exactly what we've been teaching inside Rebuilt Man for years. We just use different language. I've always said our goal is to become the man who no longer wants, needs, or desires porn. Notice I didn't say the man who gets really good at resisting porn. Those are completely different things. One is willpower, the other is built on real transformation. Now, this leads us to the fifth and final law. Freedom happens when porn no longer fits your identity. Think about someone who has never smoked. If you offer them a cigarette, they probably wouldn't spend 10 minutes fighting temptations. They'd simply say, no, thanks. Why? Because smoking isn't a part of who they are. It doesn't match their identity. Or imagine offering heroin to a healthy, purpose-driven father. He doesn't need accountability partner to say no. He doesn't need an app to block it. He doesn't white knuckle the decision. Why? Because heroin doesn't fit the kind of man he believes himself to be. Now, hear me clearly. I'm not saying porn addiction is identical to those examples. I'm illustrating a principle. The stronger your identity becomes, the less energy you spend negotiating the behaviors that no longer align with who you are. That's why what we're after is not a lifetime of white knuckling, but not surviving one temptation at a time. We're chasing becoming the man who no longer or naturally chooses differently because he's become someone different. I think that this is where faith and science beautifully come together here. Scripture talks about becoming a new creation in Christ, about putting off the old self and putting on the new one, about renewing your mind. Why science tells us something remarkably similar. Your brain changes through repeated thoughts, repeated choices, repeated experiences, and repeated environments. That's the definition of neuroplasticity. The pathways you strengthen become the pathways you naturally travel. So every time you choose integrity, every time you choose your word, every time you lean into discomfort instead of escaping it, you're not just resisting temptation, you're literally reinforcing a new way of living. You're building a new identity, and over time, that identity becomes stronger than the old one. So you've been asking yourself this question, how do I quit porn? Maybe today is the day you ask a better question. Who do I need to become so that porn no longer has a place in my life? That's the question that changed everything for me. And that's the question that's changed the life of thousands of men we've had the privilege of coaching. Because here's what we've learned. You do not rise to the level of your intentions. You do not rise to the level of your motivation. You don't even rise to the level of your goals. You consistently live at the level of your identity. Change the identity and the behavior must begin to follow. It's exactly why I wrote the book Porn Free Man. It's not another book filled with hacks or tips or tricks to help you survive another week. It's a roadmap for rebuilding the man behind the addiction. Because I don't want you spending the rest of your life trying to manage porn. I want you to become the kind of man who no longer needs it. The kind of man who leads his family, lives with integrity, walks closely with God, keeps his promises, pursues his purpose, and experiences a freedom that comes from becoming the man that God is calling him to be. That sounds like the man that you're ready to become. I encourage you to grab and pick up a copy of The Porn Free Man. Read it slowly, apply it, do the work, because the life you're praying for doesn't begin when you stop watching porn. It begins when you become a different man. Visit therebuiltman.com/porn free or click the link down there in the show notes below to grab your copy today. And if today's episode challenged the way you think about recovery, share it with another man who know you need to hear it. But remember, you were never created just to quit porn. You were created to become a rebuilt man. Grab a copy at therebuiltman.com/porn free or click the link down in the show notes below. And brother, we'll see you on the inside.